Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lucas,
I am Ellie.
and we are teachers of Efficiency Consultoria English, and we have also experience of teaching and online and also in-person classes. Yeah. And today, we're going to talk about and discuss on how to use literatures interrelated with other medias. Yeah. And how their potentialities can help us in learning English and values through stories. Because we have to bear in mind that we're dealing with different types of genres, different types of texts. And so this means that we are also dealing with different ways of telling stories. And so we designed the Efficiency for Kids course, which we have two groups. We have one group with students which range from 9 years old to 10 years old, and another group with students from 12 years old, from 10 years old to 12 years old. Yeah. And so in the course, students learn English arts together with science, math, and social studies. Yes. And it's also important to emphasize that the English language is connected with contents, yes, from that particular subject. So the classes are interdisciplinary, yeah, and we are guided by the curriculum of the British Columbia, yeah. And so the curriculum emphasizes the use of language not as the final aim of the lesson, but as a means to in order to achieve one certain topic, one certain theme, one certain inquiry questions, which are going to discuss later on the talk.
A big idea, right?
Yes.
Okay, having said that, I'd like to discuss some dimensions of curriculum. Okay, the BC core competencies are communication, thinking, personal, and social skills. And according to Graves, there are some important aspects to consider when planning a curriculum. First of all, we have the intended curriculum, which is the content students are expected to learn. Second, we have the enacted curriculum. The enacted curriculum refers to what learners learn and what teachers teach. This is what happens in the classroom, the interactions between students and teachers. And to finish, we have the assessed curriculum. The assessed curriculum refers to the knowledge, skills, and how the teachers and learners they document these results through formative and summative assessments. Okay.
Yes.
We also have the hidden curriculum. The hidden curriculum is uh, the unwritten. Okay. But Graves, she says that planning, enacting, and evaluation are three important processes that are connected. Okay. And of course, as Lucas said, the curriculum is organized around genre, texts, content, and or projects in which we reach the students the students the learns the students needs in a
Perfect.
context of use.
Perfect. And so we get,
Uh, yeah.
yes, go.
Okay. Besides that, we can consider the first wave and the second wave and the third wave of curriculum. And currently, we are in the third wave, but I'd like to talk a little bit about the first and the second wave briefly. The first way, the curriculum content is based on grammatical patterns. Okay, the most important here is the target grammar and vocabulary, as well as grammar and pronunciation exercises. So we have a topic-based or situational vocabulary. In the second way, the communicative way, uh, the abilities of writing, speaking, reading, listening, they are important, and they are used in different contexts for different purposes. But we don't have, not yet, the social practices. This will happen in the third wave. And the third wave of curriculum sees language as a resource for meaning making on a context of use. And we should consider the genre and text-based learning. We should consider the content-based learning, the project-based learning, and of course, the use of the new technologies.
Perfect. And so we go back, yeah, to the title of this talk, which is literature in all the media, yeah. And so here we go back, we ask this, why literature and all the media, yeah? And in order to discuss this idea, we can use Barthes and Barbara Stroman. And firstly, Barthes, he discusses the potentiality or in which literature carries, yeah. And he mentions the importance of literature for students to be more empathic, yeah, to sensitize with others, yes, with other students, with other people. And so by doing that, the literature offers this opportunity for students, for teachers, yes. And having that in mind, we can also go to Barbara Stroman when she discusses the differences between the dramatic texts, the movies, and also the verbal language itself. Yeah. And so she emphasizes on how those different types of texts and different types of media, how they offer different and how they use different tools. Yeah, because when we talk about movies, we have to talk about movement, we have to talk about acting, we have to talk about styles, gestures, and accents. And we also have to talk about the image itself that is being presented there, the scene, yeah? And so, in this way, students are exposed to a different way of telling stories, yes? Not only the verbal way of telling stories, but also the oral, yes? We have the orality there present.
Okay, it's really important to consider the, the importance of text for young learners, okay? So through these texts, students can learn about politics, social justice, and identity aspects such as gender, ethnicity, disabilities, and many other aspects.
Hmm? And then we go to inquiry-based learning, yeah? And what is it? Yeah? When we talk about inquiry-based learning, what are we really dealing with? Yeah. And so we can go to Early and Kendrick, yeah. And when they discuss the idea of inquiry-based learning, the main purpose is for students to get in a state of doubt, yeah, hesitation, perplexity, mental difficulty, and when they get to that state, they will look for answers, yes. So that's where the importance of being exposed to different types of texts lies, yeah, because we have different points of views, yes, you have different points of different stories, And so when they have this opportunity to compare different stories, they can see different perspectives, and inside within that they can build their own perspective. And so this can be reached by inquiring. Yeah. And by doing that, we also go back to the beginning when Ellen mentioned the importance of taking into consideration some points when developing a curriculum. Yeah. Because we are dealing with different life worlds, as Early and Kendrick put. Yeah. We are dealing with different students, different life worlds. So we have to expose them to different types of texts, to different types of perspectives, in order to take into account that difference, yes, inside a classroom.
And as an example, we have here the first inquiry question, which is, what does it mean to be part of a community? So the students, they had to read the question, then circle, looking after or not looking after. This is actually a simple answer. The purpose here is not only grammar, but also the uh, starting out a reflection. So what does it mean to be part of a community? From this point, they can think, reflect, understand the meaning of community, and of course, explore the image here, the nonverbal language. Yes? So what they are doing, what activity they are doing, are they together, are they alone? Can you see a problem here? Can you see an interaction between the woman and the children? So the picture, the image here is very important to this inquiry question.
Mhm. Perfect. And here we have another example, yes, of an activity which was designed for this module. And the idea of the module was to work with community, yes, but also using different texts. And the first text we used, the first genre, was fable, yeah. And so before we start working with the fable itself, we used the hare and the tortoise as a leading, yeah, to illustrate for students what is a fable, yeah, what are the aspects of a fable, yeah, because a fable has a hero, yeah, a fable has a villain, a fable uses different animals, and a fable has a moral, yes, a value in the end of the story. And so by using a very common fable, yeah, because the hare and the tortoise, some of the students all also read in Portuguese, yeah. We have this opportunity for them to build in their minds what is a fable and what to expect next when we start the reading. Yeah. And so the fable we read is entitled The Sheep and the Pig. And in this fable, we have a sheep and a pig, yeah, and they want to build a house, yeah. And throughout the story, they start meeting different animals. We're going to get to those animals on later on. And it's interesting because every animal has a different characteristic, yeah, has a different physical characteristic. So each animal has the capacity to help in different types of chores. Yes. So, for example, the rabbit, yeah, because there is a rabbit, they meet a rabbit later on the story. The rabbit has sharp teeth, yeah, so he can gnaw pegs, for example, yeah. And so, according to the physical aspect of the animal, they can help in some way in order for them to build their own community. And we also have the picture book. Yes, Helen?
Yes, the picture book is entitled Look Where We Live. We can see some friends, some children, and some dogs, and they are going to explore their community during a street fair. The purpose is to raise money for the library, the local library. So this is a great story of community building. And we followed some um, important aspects that led us to the final purpose of this module, which is writing a paragraph. We are going to see it later on. So we have, what is a community? We have the jobs, the roles, and we have some important aspects related to community. So a community is, a community have, a community needs, and also the roles elders play in a community. Because in the story, we're going to see that the children, they go to a retirement home to visit some people, some elders. This is an example, as Lucas said. This is a pre-reading activity. So they hadn't read the story. So what animals could take these responsibilities? Build a house with bricks, pull moss, crawl very early in the morning, gnaw pegs with its sharp teeth, and who logs. So they had to guess some actions.
Yes.
Okay. And the students just had some fun matching these animals. The purpose here is just to elicit some actions that are included in the story.
And also to pre-teach the vocabulary, yeah, they're going to find the story, yeah. This is also one of the stages, yes, of the reading process, yeah.
Yeah.
And we finished, yeah, the discussion of community using this video, When I Grow Up, yeah, because in this video we have a little girl that she wants to decide what she will be in the future when she grows up and what job she wants for her future. And so it's interesting because throughout the video we have this girl which is picturing herself in different jobs. And by doing that, we can understand, we can use as a way to discuss with students the importance that each job has in a community. Yeah. And so, and it's also an opportunity to learn about grammar because we're talking about conditionals. Yeah. So, and so we relate the person to the place where he or she works. We relate the place that this person wants to go to what he or she can do in that place. And so, as we said before, the grammar is embedded, yes, throughout the texts, right, Helen?
Yes, we also selected some uh, units from textbooks to discuss and describe jobs.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. After that, we have the question: how to keep the community alive? Uh, at this point of the lesson, the students were reading the book. Look Where We Live. This is a pre-reading actually for the book, for the picture book. And the students, they understood the meaning of raise money, shop locally, respect orders, respect the rules, and they gave some examples of these actions, considering their backgrounds and their perspectives. So, for example, shop locally. Okay, what do you see when you go to downtown? Can you see people buying and shopping and uh, some things? So what do you see there? And they understood the meaning of shop locally by giving examples, by uh, going outside their houses, outside their they I mean going beyond the text.
Perfect. Yes, and here we have one example, yes, from the text, from the picture book. And they have to raise money, yes, for the library. And so we use the book, we use the story as also a way to practice, yes. And this is one very good example on how you can use the story itself and also language. You can also practice language, yes, and not missing out the theme which we are working with, which is community, yes, building a community, the importance of a community, and what we can do as a community. Yeah.
Yes, we have a value, an important value as well. So being on a team, yes?
Yes.
And they
Perfect.
learned the relative pronouns
Yes.
while reading the text, okay? And we also had the question, the inquiry question, what roles do elders play in a community? Okay, so throughout this lesson, the students, they learned the importance of the elderly. So what do they do in a community? What are their values in a community? Okay, and they went to a retirement home in this story.
Yes.
So we can explore public buildings, neighborhood, businesses. So all of these places that the children visit, the children go during the story.
And so everything we discussed throughout the lessons, yeah, we end up with a production, yeah, in order to evaluate and assess the students' learning, yeah. And here we have two examples. Yeah, we have a picture book, which is in this picture book, students they look it up on Google for pictures related to the different topics we worked. And so in this picture book, we work with immigration, yeah, we work with immigrants, and so and all the different and all the things as well. And so students they found the pictures and wrote a short paragraph about that particular topic, that particular theme. Yeah. And the other
Yes,
example,
actually,
yes,
it's actually how they answer the inquiry questions,
yes.
because we had the questions about community, the importance and the role of elders,
Mhm.
and also there is one more, which is what does it mean to be part of a community?
Yes.
So, and then in the end, they had a text with a body, with an introduction, and with a body, and with a conclusion. And they had to write following an outline. So this is the moment in which the teachers can review the lessons. Teachers can give some examples, some predefined texts for the students to write. And then the students have some ideas in the development of the text, of the paragraph. And as you can see, in the end, the students, they were able to write a text about the topic, yes, about the community. So what is a community? And this was our final task. Here are some suggested platforms. So we collect materials from these platforms. Okay, you can check it out later on.
And we must bear in mind that students are now exposed to different types of texts and media throughout their daily lives. In this way, themes and topics which are discussed in class are used in a way to not only practice English, but also as an extension of the learning process, yeah, because we're dealing with values, yeah. And so this is also a way to see this as an extension, yes, of the classroom. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in our talk. You can get in touch with us through our emails. And I would like also to invite you to check out our Efficiency Consultoria Instagram account.
Yes, thank you for participating. Have a nice, happy, and it was a pleasure to be here. Bye-bye.
Bye bye, guys.